Hello everyone. Tonight we'll be talking about translating Tokien. And before we start, I would like to propose an exercise, or at least something that you guys will think about it. Just imagine translating a book that's not originally written in English, and imagine how hard it is to translate a word. For example, in my case, I'm Brazilian, so we speak Portuguese. So imagine translating a word from Portuguese to English. Most of the time, a lot of expressions cannot be translated like the same way they were written because it would not make sense to the public. So imagine yourselves in that position of trying to give to the public the same idea as the author was trying to give, but using another words, like paraphrasing it. But imagine how hard it is whenever you don't have that word, you don't have a word or an expression to translate the idea of what the author was trying to give to the public. Now going to my paper, to my research, I used 3 different sources for this, and one of my sources, Roman Jacobson, he stated there are 3 different types of translation. The intralingual, which refers to whenever the author changes the original work, so the public can understand what the author meant. The interlingual translation, which is translating to another language, and the intersemiotic translation, which is translating to different mediums. It could be translating a book to a movie, and that's where most of the changes happen, because it's a big difference translating something that was written to, and it has, like, let's say Lord of the Rings, the 3 books has more than 1,000 pages, translating to a movie or 3 movies that have the maximum of 9 hours. So it is really hard. So going on, the podcast that I watch, for my research paper, was it was the original translator of Lord of the Rings, the Brazilian translator, and he talks about the difficulties that he encountered while translating the book, because Tolkien used a lot of Germanic, Scandinavian, and Slavic culture elements. So if you think about it, the European public could understand better, because these elements were based on the European culture. So a lot of expressions that he used are better to understand for the European public. But when translating to a completely different culture, it is very hard. So he was trying to explain to the public the problems that he faced. For example, Tolkien used a lot of archaic literature, which means that he used words that are not used nowadays. That made even harder for the translator, because imagine you have to translate something that is not used for people. People don't say those words anymore. And he also pointed out that he had to make a lot of changes and adaptations to the poems and songs written by Tolkien, because if they were translated the same way they were written, the public would not appreciate the same way, because it would not make sense for the public. So that was one of the biggest challenges, as well as translating names and places, because Tolkien used a lot of he played a lot of the words, and at the end of the day, those places meant their names meant something. So when translating that and bringing that to another different culture, another different language, it was a really difficult challenge for the translators. And but he did a really good job, because we had 4 translations before the latest one, and they were not as loyal to the original work as this last one was.